Today, we're going to crack open a bit of a time capsule from the mid 2000s. It's a pretty controversial dating guide called The Player's Black Book, and it promised to teach basically any guy the secrets to seduction. So, in this breakdown, we're going to get into its core philosophy and the specific tactics it laid out. Let's dive in. Right out of the gate, the book makes this incredibly bold promise. And this isn't just a suggestion, right? It's the absolute foundation of the entire system. Basically, the author is saying that all that stuff you worry about, your looks, how much money you have, it all becomes irrelevant if you just master the methods he's about to show you. And look, this isn't just framed as a collection of tips and tricks. The guide presents itself as a total transformation. The whole point isn't just to, learn a few clever lines. It's about fundamentally changing who you are to become, in the author's own words, a master seducer. He uses this classic basketball analogy to make a really key point. Just reading the book is not enough. He's really hammering home that these techniques demand practice out in the real world. So the guide can give you the playbook, sure, but you're the one who has to actually get on the court and run the plays. Okay, so where does a transformation like this even begin? Well, according to the book, it all starts with a huge psychological shift. It's about adopting a totally new way of looking at attraction, and that becomes the foundation for everything else. So, rule number one, right at the top. You cannot succeed with women until you understand how they operate. That's a non-negotiable. The author even compares his guide to a flight manual, basically suggesting that if you try to navigate the dating world without this knowledge, you're just flying blind and you're going to crash. And this leads us to the absolute core concept of the entire book, what he calls the fairy tale man. The theory goes like this. The media, we're talking soap operas, magazines, you name it, has programmed women to want this perfect fairy tale life. And because of that, they're all subconsciously on the lookout for the guy who can give it to them. And the big takeaway here, what the author's really getting at, is that women might not even consciously know what they're looking for, but they're convinced they'll know it when they see it, because it will feel special. So that makes standing out from every other guy the single most important thing you can do. And this is where the book just throws that old advice, just be yourself, right out the window. The author's logic is pretty blunt. If yourself was already attractive enough, you wouldn't have bought his book in the first place. So the goal isn't to fake it, it's to actually become this ideal type of man he's describing. All right, so once you've got that mindset locked down, the whole game shifts inward. The next step is all about building up the internal qualities of this player archetype piece by piece. The book puts it really simply. It basically asks you, hey, who would you rather hang out with? Someone boring and depressed, or someone who's upbeat and adventurous? It's kind of a no-brainer, right? And the logic is that everyone, men and women, is looking for someone who can add a little bit of excitement, a little spice to their own life. So to help you out, the book lays out this checklist of traits you're supposed to build. You've got to be positive and excited, unpredictable, that's a big one, funny but not, corny, adventurous, and interestingly, it says be charming and romantic, but only in moderation. And the foundation for all of this? It's confidence. The author is absolutely dead serious on this point. He says self-worth isn't just some nice little bonus. It is a mandatory prerequisite. You simply can't achieve this kind of success, he argues, if you don't first believe, deep down, that you're worthy of it. And to build this confidence, the book offers this kind of strange and counterintuitive technique called confidence overdrive. So here's how it works. You have some kind of successful experience with a woman, and then you tell absolutely no one about it. The theory is that by bottling up those good feelings, they sort of compound internally and create this powerful, self-sustaining loop of ever-increasing confidence. All right, so we've worked on the inside game, the mindset. Now the guide flips over to the outside, the tangible stuff, the things people can actually see. This next section is all about mastering how you present yourself. And the whole philosophy here isn't about trying to look like a movie star or conform to some impossible standard. It's actually way simpler than that. The author's point is that it's all about maximizing your own potential. The goal isn't to look like somebody else, it's to look like the absolute best version of you. And when I say the advice gets specific, I mean really specific. There's this whole checklist for what he calls looking fresh. It covers everything from basic dental hygiene to getting a modern haircut, keeping your body hair trimmed, getting a tan, and even buying and wearing what he calls a top-shelf cologne. It's all laid out like a routine you just have to follow. Okay, so you've done the work on your mind, your personality, your look. Now for the final part, putting it all together in an actual conversation. This is what the book calls the pickup. Now, this is a really important distinction the book makes. It splits things into two parts. There's attracting, which is everything that happens before you say a single word, your appearance, your body language, your vibe. And then there's the pickup, which is the conversation itself, and that starts the second you say hi. So the main strategy for the conversation itself is to just completely flip the script on its head. Instead of you trying to impress her or win her over, the book says you should act like you're interviewing her to see if she's good enough for you. The entire frame is built to project this image of high status and unshakable confidence. And this brings us to probably the most well-known, or maybe infamous, technique in the entire book, the point system. And the dialogue examples show you exactly how it's supposed to work. You'd literally say something like, "Mine too. That earns you a few points," or "That's too bad. That's going to cost you some points." It's gamifying that whole interview frame. So what's the point of all this? Well, the author is super clear about the psychological goal here. He says it's to make her feel like she's constantly competing to win you over. The idea is to make you seem like a prize that has to be won, which completely reverses the usual dynamic. As the book starts to wrap up, it actually tries to redefine what a player even is. It reframes the term, not as someone who's deceptive or manipulative, but as a guy who is simply using a process of trial and error to find his one truly compatible partner. You know, the one. And it all ends with this one last push, this final call to action. It's a really direct message to the reader that, hey, sitting around and waiting isn't going to work. If you want any of the results promised in this book, you have to be proactive and get out there and, as he says, make them happen. And, that really leaves us with one big question, doesn't it? The book's stated goal, its whole justification, is finding the one. But when you think about the methods we just covered, the interview frame, the point system, making yourself a prize, you have to ask, does that approach actually help you find a genuine, compatible partner? It's definitely something to think about.